Welcome to Gettin to Know the 570, brought to you by ConversionWorx Media, a show that hosts special guests from in and around Northeast PA to share their stories, knowledge, and experiences in their work and personal lives. And now, here's your host, Frank Sepka.
What's up, everyone? Thanks so much for joining us for another episode of Gettin to Know the 570. Super stoked to have Ben Schonfeld from Benny Brewing Co here with us tonight. Just a good friend. You know, I've gotten to know Ben over this past almost 3 years now, and we've worked together, we've drank together. We've really built a great relationship, and when he said that he was willing to come in here and hook up with us and do a show, I was super stoked. Thought it would be fun to hear the story of Benny Brewing Company. So thanks a lot for joining us, Ben.
Yeah, man. Thanks for the kind words. I appreciate it. I'd love to sit here and chat with you and have a good time tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it's really cool. You know, Getting to Know the 570 is this show that wants to, we want to highlight people from our area and be able to talk about notable things that are taking place. And, you know, right now we've had a restaurant guest. We've had Angle Eyewear come in. We've got other people lined up now, a photographer. So cool stuff happening here. We have high hopes for this show, and we feel very fortunate to have you in here and at our early stage.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it. It's great to get everybody out in the 570 and start talking about what everybody's doing and catching the vibe, what's going on right now.
Yeah, man. Hey, listen, I want to cut right to the chase. You brought me a beer here. What do we have here? We have Pale Ale.
Pale Ale, big boys. First ones.
Yeah, the big boys is right. We got the 16 ounces here. Pretty happy about this. I think everybody just heard that, right? That's pretty nice right there. Let me just go ahead and let's do some smell-o-vision, as they would call it.
That just sent a chill down my spine.
I mean, every time I'm at Ben's, I got to go and get the Pale Ale. I absolutely love it. What's the story behind the Pale Ale here?
Pale Ale was the first hoppy beer that we really ever made. We started that back in 2010 when I used to brew beer down at Marty's in Nanticoke.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was the first time we started using, at that time, was the big piney, fruity, tropical hops, Simcoe and Citra. I mean, from this point forward, it's gotten a lot different, but we actually started this beer the first time I ever did it. We took a clone from Heady Topper. We actually took, I got a can of the beer. We propagated the yeast from it, and we used that yeast strain in this beer and propagated it, and we still use it to this day.
What makes it so, I don't know, fresh tasting? Why is it, like, every time I've had the Pale Ale, it's like this sort of, it's almost, I've had other IPAs, but the Pale Ale always seems to be like this refreshing hoppiness.
Well, it's, you know, the fact that it's just, we dry hop it a lot when it's cold. It adds like a juicier kind of fresh, cool kind of feeling to it. It's just not, we don't use a lot of hops in the boil. We don't use a lot of hops like throughout the actual boil at all. Very little at the end of the boil, a lot of hops during cold dry hopping processes to give it that like fresh tropical kind of like fruity flavor.
So I'm right by saying,
yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So Ben, again, thanks so much for joining us today, man. What I would love to do is, and I think this is what will make this show fun and interesting, and that is to just do a dive into the history of Benny Brewing, right? And maybe even Ben Schonfeld, right? I mean, we all know where Benny Brewing is at this point, Sansui Highway. Can't miss it if you're driving down the Sansui Highway. It's the one place that's packed with cars almost every night. Lucky you. But I'd love to hear, and I think everybody else who's listening would love to hear the story of Ben Schonfeld. I mean, I understand from our conversations, you grew up in the restaurant business, right?
I did. I've always said, you know, years ago when my parents decided to buy Marty's, I was 4 years old, like when they first bought it. So I lived above the restaurant. I heard the restaurant. I heard the vibe since I was a young kid. It just, you could hear customers downstairs talking and joking and laughing when we were like sleeping at night. And it was a kind of a situation that not many people are brought up into. And, you know, it just kind of stuck with me. And I just,
now, is this your whole childhood? Were you?
Yeah, I lived above Marty's with my parents in an apartment that was above the restaurant as they were starting the business until I was probably 16 years old.
So Ben Schonfeld's born literally into the restaurant business.
Correct.
Wow. Okay. And now your dad's place it was always Marty's?
Yeah, it was always Marty's. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So he bought the restaurant. I remember it was funny. Like I would sleepwalk at night and I would walk downstairs into the restaurant. And it was like a weird thing. And the customer like, what is that? What's going on? It was like a thing. And they would like, my mom or dad would be down and would like take me back up and take me back upstairs or whatever, you know. And I remember just growing up in the restaurant as if you wanted to go downstairs and get something to eat. That's our kitchen was the restaurant, you know, it was a different thing. So we would go down and say, we'll go make something for dinner. And we had the ultimate pantry of food and things to cook and grab and do whatever you want. He's like, you're making dinner tonight. And
I got to know. I mean, young Ben, I'm just trying to, as much of a foodie as I am, I got to imagine I'm a kid. I could go downstairs and have whatever I want in a restaurant. Like, what was your go-to then?
To me, it was always scallops.
You're a kid. And you're
I loved
them.
them.
Scallops.
I loved them. It was my favorite.
How did you
it still
make 'em?
is. I would just pan-seared saute dish, tossed with Cajun pasta. It was.
So what do you like? 9, 10 going downstairs sauteing scallops?
Yeah, my forehead is just above the top of the stove, and I was able to just like look into a saute pan, and that's when I was making food.
Oh my God, that's amazing!
It's hilarious. Yeah.
Now your Marty's was always known for Cajun food, right?
Yeah.
So. Yeah. Did that have any influence on you as a kid? Like, are you still a huge Cajun food lover?
I love it. I still use the same Cajun seasoning to today in some of the recipes that we do have at the brewery, but I use it at my house, and I love spicy food. I love, you know, that big bold flavor that I'm never satisfied unless I have that flavor.
Yeah. What's that sauce that you guys have at the Cajun Kettle?
We have the Cajun boil kettle that we have. Yeah, we always call that the creeper. It has the dried ghost chilies in it, and it's just one of those sauces that as you eat 2 or 3, it's not that hot. It's not that hot.
Yeah,
and then when you get into 6, then I'm gonna come back over and say, how is it now?
Yeah, your forehead's sweating. Yeah. Everything's sweating.
Yeah, you start breathing heavy, and it's like, okay, you get through a dozen of those, giddy up.
So. I often hear stories about when there's a kid who grows up in a restaurant setting. He has his friends that are at the restaurant all the time. I mean, were you like the kid everybody was like, oh, we could all go and hang out with Ben at his restaurant? You know, it was like, was there something like that going on? Like, were you and your friends always eating in groups and stuff?
Well, when we were younger, all the kids, we would come over like after Little League. It was funny even when we had, when I played Little League when we were kids, we always had a sign in the outfield, and if anybody hit a ball over the sign, they'd get a bucket of wings. It was that kind of like,
that's cool.
Like that kind of cool thing. But yeah, kids wanted to hang out, and we always had wings and steak sandwiches and stuff like that. We'd be eating upstairs or playing out in the backyard behind the restaurant. And
now, where'd you go to school? Nanticoke?
I did. Yeah, I went to Nanticoke High School.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Did you play any sports in school?
I didn't actually. I was always into skiing. Big into skiing, went all over the place, skiing all over the country, all over the place. Also a lot of quad riding, ATV riding, that kind of thing. That was always my game.
Yeah, you were telling me a story the one time, I believe it was the Coal Banks. You had the fastest quad.
Yeah, we always had fast quads, and I still have coal in my back to prove it.
That's funny. What was the quad you had? You were telling me the one time you got something and all your friends were like, "That thing's ridiculous."
It was I always called it the sleeper. It was a 2000 400EX. I still have it. It sits on the shelf as a remembrance of childhood and ignorance at some point.
That's awesome.
But it was fun. Yeah.
Yeah, that's super cool.
Yeah.
So you grow up, you're having fun, you're doing your thing. At what point does Ben start now working in the restaurant world?
I would say probably 14 or 15 is about when I started 5 days a week, serious with it. Yes.
And what was your job? What was a typical day for a 14, 15-year-old Ben at Marty's Blue Room?
You go to school, you come home, you do your homework, and you start using a saute pan.
Were you cooking at 14, 15?
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, did you have to, some parents in the restaurant business, they're like, no, you're going to work your way all the way up. You're going to wash dishes. You're going to do this. You're going to do that. Did you get to skip the washing the dishes part?
No, no, absolutely not. I did dishes before. I stood on a milk crate when I couldn't reach into a sink and did dishes. But
Nice.
yeah.
Okay. So you were set straight.
Yeah, absolutely. No, there's only one way to truly understand and appreciate the people, the employees, and everything about a restaurant is that you start all the way in the corner washing dishes and work your way to the top. And if you don't do that, you will never gain the appreciation for how hard and how everybody in that restaurant field works.
So what was it like working with everybody else that was working there? Were they a little bit nervous because you're the owner's kid, and so they had to like smooch you a little bit?
No, not one. No,
not one bit.
Not at all. Because all the people that were there were all truly family to us, and it's the way that it worked at Marty's, and it's the way that I instill that in my employees and everybody that's at Benny Brewing to this day. No, they're there to help you. They're there to be your family. They're there to be just true and kind. I'm there to be true and kind to every person that I work around.
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool. So Ben's 14, 15. He's working at Marty's Blue Room. Did you have any personal life at that time, or was it really just school and work? Did you get to get out?
I would say, Tuesday through Saturday was school and work. Sunday,
quadding
on the quad all day long. Wouldn't find me until you'd hear me coming home at 8, 9 o'clock at night.
Okay.
Yeah. Monday morning, clean it all up, enjoy the rest of the day off, and then, or Monday after school, clean it all up, and then back to school, back to work the next day.
So I remember being younger, and my parents would always try to, my mom would always try to find a reason, or my grandparents would find a reason occasionally for us to make our way down to Marty's Blue Room. So I remember going there periodically, and I always remember what that visit meant. It was going to be like a hearty meal. I know you were going to leave, and I was going to be real stuffed and stuff, and I was always happy to go there. And then years later, I go as an adult. Now, I couldn't tell you what year this was, but I walk in, and the whole right side has got all these beer tanks in it. And all of a sudden, I'm hearing about this brewery thing that's popping up. So how does that come to life? Tell me about that, because 14, 15, he's working in a restaurant. Years goes by, he's working in a restaurant. At what point does all of a sudden interrupt? Can somebody grab Ben a beer?
I'm getting a little low.
Yeah, we don't want that to happen. No.
All this talk in my mouth is going to dry out.
Yeah. Well, that's the nice thing about these 16 ounces, right?
I know. You get a little extra, keep you going.
Yeah. But yeah. So at what point does the restaurant life transition into Ben having a go at brewing beer?
I would say, honestly, that's probably the best question you asked. This is the best way to describe how Benny Brewing Company truly evolved. So my grandfather that has passed away a few years back, Mo Schonfeld.
Big influence to you, right?
Gigantic. I can't explain it enough.
I love that about you, and I want to emphasize that to anybody who's listening. That anybody who knows me knows how much my grandfather meant to me. And when I see that hanging on your wall at the brewery, that's really just super cool. And please don't cut that short. Do him all the justice.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's a picture of him that overlooks where we work every day in the brewery, and every day I walk in, and it's my biggest regret that I wish that he was there to see the progress of what actually happened. So he made wine. He lived in South Wilkes-Barre.
And what was his name again?
His name was Mo Schonfeld.
Mo Schonfeld.
Yeah, Morton Schonfeld, but everybody called him Mo.
Yeah, but that's just a cool name.
He was a Shriner. He was a member of Iram Temple Country Club for 50 years.
Oh, wow.
So he was very, very dedicated to that organization, extremely dedicated. He made wine. He lived in South Wilkes-Barre, right off of Minor Park in Wilkes-Barre. He had grapevines in his backyard. He was always in there. He would take the grapes. He would crush all the grapes. I would help him with it, even as a young kid. And he would make all the wine, and he would take it out to the club, and they would drink it. And anybody out there that's listening to this and has spent time in the old club at Iram would absolutely be chuckling right now and realize the fun that they had with that wine. But
what kind of wine would he make?
He had Concord grapes. He had Niagara.
Now, was he making the typical, NEPA Dago red?
No, he did it by style, and he did the grapes in his backyard, and no, it wasn't similar to that at all.
Okay.
But I always liked the wine. I do appreciate a good glass of wine, but I always kind of, like, as I was growing up, I was always around beer, and I always liked beer a lot more. So with the inspiration of that, I did make wine. I made some fruit wines. I made some ciders. I made some different stuff. And it was always amazing to see the product kind of come to life once the yeast started to react and it turned in and changed into another product, that you could enjoy and have fun with your friends and family. And, at the end of the day, I said I'd really like wine. I really like beer. So we were away on a vacation trip to Myrtle Beach on a golf trip. I'm like, what is this brew pub thing? Like, I know it sounds funny, everybody's laughing, but 20 years ago, that didn't exist. Like, it was rare to see those kind of places.
Yeah, it was like the start of the micro brew type thing.
At that point, you had Sierra Nevada was out, and you had Anchor Brewing, and you had stuff like that. But that was all West Coast kind of stuff. There wasn't a whole ton of East Coast breweries, and it wasn't very popular. So we ended up being in a town. We were in Myrtle Beach, South Myrtle Beach. We got done playing golf. We're like, look at this place. We stop in there, get a couple beers. We're like, do you have a regular beer? No, we just have the beers we make. Okay, cool. So we grabbed a bunch of different beers. We're looking. And it was funny. It was the moment that I was the Garfield cat on the window, on the back of the car.
Right.
Because it's oh, cool. I'm making wine at home, and it's all these tanks and stuff. And then there's all these giant tanks and all this stuff. And I immediately was intrigued by what was going on, and I ended up, asking one of the bartenders, is the brewer here? Are they here? No, they're not here. They're going to be in tomorrow. They're brewing beer. Call back tomorrow. And you're thinking, yeah, right. It's like a corporate place.
Sure.
No way. This isn't going to happen. So I sat down, and it was the first sip I had, and I'm like, wow, this isn't your standard American Pilsner. This beer's got tons of flavor. It's got different body. It's got all these different nuances. It's so delicious. It tastes so good. So I had a few pints of beer there. We left, went on our way for the night, went home the next day. It was raining. No one was around at all. Everybody's just playing cards. They're hanging out in the room. No one's doing anything. And I'm going to call this guy. I'm going to call his bluff, see if he's there. I call, and he answers the phone.
Now, how old are you at this point?
At this point, I'm 21.
Okay.
22 at this point.
All right.
I call, and he says, yeah, come down. I'm actually brewing beer by myself today. If you want to come down and check it out, stop by. So I went down there, and I spent 6 or 8 hours with this guy, talking over the process.
What was the name of that place?
It was called Liberty Tap Room. It was in Broadway and the Beach in Myrtle Beach.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, South Myrtle.
Did you by any chance remember the guy's name?
I don't.
Oh man, that'd be cool if we tagged him in this.
I know. I wish at that point. But I ended up going down there. I enjoyed it so much. I spent the rest of my vacation at this point, let's think about it. 20 years ago, no one picked up their phone and started doing research. That wasn't in existence unless you. So I had to wait. I was thinking about it. I had to go home and then go on a computer and do the research. And I probably spent 3 or 4 months just researching stuff. And then I built a little system. My parents my dad, before we had a restaurant, he was a welder, so he kind of taught me that trade through the years of how to weld and do different things. And I ended up building my own like little first system, and we had a garage behind the restaurant, and I just started making beer just for friends and doing it and having fun with it. And
is it very complex, or is it, at this stage, like when you want to make beer at home? I mean, is it easy? What's it like getting into it?
I mean, I think I always like tell everybody that wants to get into it, just do a lot of reading. Like just really pay attention to the details, the cleanliness of it, the sanitation parts of it. But no, I mean, anybody at home could really, can really give it a shot and make, a drinkable beer. Like there's no doubt.
Okay.
Yeah.
But at what point, do you start to get outside the comfort zone of the sort of recipes that you get in these home kits? At what point does the home brewer get crazy and start thinking, or what is the deciding factor for that person to say, oh yeah, let's do that? Ooh.
Oh yeah.
Nice. But what's the point at which somebody says, hey, you know what? I've made enough of these recipes. I get the idea. Now I'm going to go and do this on my own. And then what becomes the thing that changes a lot? Like what are you trying more of, less of, different? What are you doing?
I mean, coming up with the beer recipes, and anybody out there, will say, I would think anybody that's out there brewing professionally will say similar things. The products themselves, there's ingredients that you use. There's different techniques that everybody has as their own, but there are basic style recipes and basic things. As we get into these new fruited IPAs, sour IPAs, things like that, the game is changing a little bit to the point where there's some maybe proprietary kind of ideas and concepts that people are using. But to make a true two-style beer and put that to the market, there's still a lot involved. I mean, the legalities, you have to obviously get property, get stuff, in line to be able to sell product in your community. TTB registrations, you have to get a brewer's notice, you have to get a license from PLCB. There's a ton of different steps just to get into the game, let alone buying all the equipment. Because let's face it, if you start this, you can do this with an igloo cooler and a pot on your stove to make an all grain batch of beer, basically.
So what kind of beer were you making to start?
I started making, the first beer I made was Hoppenstein.
One of your flagship beers today? You started?
That was the first beer that I made. It's changed multiple times up until I opened the brewery, and it still to this day slightly changes just a little bit, just to keep up with, Hoppenstein at one point was a filtered beer. When I first brewed it at Marty's, I filtered it.
Okay.
And it was crystal clear. Now it's hazier. That's what people want. It's got a better mouthfeel. It carries the hop profile, and it does. It generally tastes better than if it was filtered. There's no doubt.
How'd you come up with that name?
Hoppenstein?
Yeah.
Hoppenstein it's funny. It actually, one of my buddies that owns Antonio's Pizza in Nanticoke, Gino, he actually came up with the name for it.
Yeah, it's monstrous.
Yeah, he's like, it had tons of hops at the time. It was 100 IBU beer. It was 7% alcohol, and he came up with the name for it, and we started brewing that beer at Marty's day one.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Now, is that the one, when I see pictures from back in the day, Hoppenstein, at that point you were bottling? Right?
Yeah, it was in a 22-ounce bottle.
Okay.
At the time. Yeah.
And were you selling then?
Yeah, we were selling that to a few local places, very, very limited.
Okay.
Antonio's Pizza in Nanticoke had it.
Now, so this is being brewed at Marty's Blue Room.
Yeah.
And bottled there as well?
Yeah.
And being sold to very few locals. Now, that's when I first came there. And I remember hearing about it. I tried it on draft. Yeah, and I think you had like 2 others at the time too.
Yeah, I think we had Amber Lager at the time, and we had Wit beer.
Wit, that's
Yeah.
it. Yeah, you had the Wit.
And then we also had like a rotating seasonal that we did the Benny Fest. We did a Summer Ale, which was a Kolsch at the time.
Okay.
Now, I mean,
Yeah, now
we got like
Right.
I don't even know where we'll get there. I
Where
guess.
do we,
But,
yeah. Well, I mean, what a journey. So, at some point, this starts to take off. Is that what happens then? Like you've got some traction with the beer side of the business, and you're doing your thing. You're selling some beer, and Ben gets the bright idea. It's time to go and blossom and do his own thing. Is that what happens?
yeah, it's time to spread your wings and fly away. Like it's time to do your own thing. And I just figured, for the betterment of my family, and
You had to be scared shitless a little bit, right?
there's no doubt.
You can't not.
If
be.
you say that you're not, you're lying.
you're a liar.
You're absolutely lying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's way too scary at that stage. So, how do you? What's the next step then? Ben gets the itch, and
I leave Marty's Blue Room. I decide, okay, that's it. I'm pulling the plug. I'm going on my own. We secure funding.
how do you find the location? What can you share with us about that?
This is another one. Like honestly, my grandparents and we would go to Mo's house every Sunday. He lived in South Wilkes-Barre, so when we were younger kids, we would go there at times on the weekend when my parents were running the restaurant. And it was a thing that I never really told anybody. I mean, I've told my wife Danielle about this, but I never told my parents. I never said anything to anybody else. Every time we would drive home from South Wilkes-Barre back to Nanticoke where we lived, I would drive by a location on the Sansui Highway that was a wholesale tire location.
Siemens Tire,
It
right?
was called Seaman Tire.
Yeah, I remember it.
Mike Seaman was the owner of the building, and I don't know what it was, but I always, every time I drove by there in both directions, I looked at the same spot. I'm sure everybody out there listening to this has that place that they physically they don't know why they're looking at it and why they do it every single day, but they fixate on this one situation. They look at one place.
Just felt connected.
And I did it since I was a really, really little kid. And I have no idea why. So as years go by, 10 years, 15 years go by, it's coming time that, all right, I want to look for a building. I want to look for a place. And at this point, we would go to Danielle's parents' house, go hang out at the pool on Sundays and relax.
Now, Danielle, your wife?
My
right?
wife, Danielle, yes. And I drove by and I still constantly looked at that place. And the one day I drove by and there was a for sale sign on the building.
Do you hear this heavenly music in your head?
I immediately told her to turn around. Like we didn't get down to the police station past the brewery. We turned around and went back. I got the number. I looked into the building. I was like peeping in the building again, like the Garfield cat on the brewing equipment.
Sure.
Look back, look into the building, start looking around, and I'm like, all right, I got to call this number like immediately. Again, I got to call. I got to find out what's going on with this because it just, I don't know. It just fit the bill. I don't know why.
Yeah. You got to be scared though that this is going to be super expensive.
Yeah, of course.
Right? I mean,
of course.
It's a prime location.
Yeah, I mean, there's over 15,000 cars a day that drive by that location.
Yeah.
So we call the next day. Within that week, we purchase the building. We buy the building just to secure property for the idea of Benny Brewing Company.
Wild. Absolutely wild. Now, do you know this is what it's going to be called?
Yes. It started as Benny Brewing Company, where it was like, we're not going to change it. We're just going to...
Right out of the gate, you knew it was going to be Benny? You never had any sort of left field sort of names for this?
No, never. It started at Marty's as Benny Brewing Company, and we're just like, no, we're going to stick with it. We're just going to do it.
That's cool.
That's where we're going to head with it. So we bought the building. We went through all kind of land development issues, highway occupancy permits, erosion sedimentation control plans, engineers upon engineers upon engineers and fees upon fees upon fees.
So how long from the process from when you buy the property to approvals and you're ready to break ground?
It was 1 year.
Oh, well, that's not terrible.
Yeah.
Okay. So things moved along. Hanover Township had to be pretty excited about having something like this in their town too.
Oh, there's no doubt. I mean, they were excited to have something new, to have, an anchor per se in their town. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my whole family's from that area, so
Right.
I mean, I grew up. I went to Hanover prior to moving to Wilkes-Barre and going to Coughlin, but I used to run that highway.
Yeah.
And spending all my time there as a kid, there was never really anything notable. I mean, nothing like what you have there now. So
Right.
that's pretty awesome. So a year goes by, you break ground. What was the projected time for the build out?
Build out to open date.
Yeah.
Build out to open date was originally 6 months. It turned into a year. Yeah.
Right. It's that's pretty standard, right?
Yeah. Any more anything, you just double whatever anybody says.
That's it.
It's the way it goes.
Did you run into any problems along the way?
I mean, we dealt with some issues with permitting and things for highway occupancy permits and things in that nature, and just making sure we had enough parking and
Sure.
a lot of extra excavation and things in that nature to get our parking lot sized correctly for what we needed to do. But the building was built out brand new, fully handicap accessible, plenty of bathrooms, spacing for everybody in the building. And
So tell me, what was the inspiration for the design? And for anybody who's listening who hasn't been there yet, I highly encourage you to stop in and go to Benny Brewing Company. But you can also, and I guess we'll plug ourselves here a little bit, but ConversionWorx did a super cool 3D virtual tour for you.
Right.
So I highly encourage anybody who's just interested to kind of put an image to what we're talking about. Go to bennybrewing.com, scroll down on the homepage. You'll see there's a 3D virtual tour there. You can take a look at the entire restaurant. Super cool layout. Probably one of my favorite places in the area. It makes you feel when you're in there that you're not in the Wilkes-Barre area. So kudos to you, man, because the place looks awesome. And everybody who I talk to, everybody says the same thing. It's like I just feel like I'm somewhere else. I've been to Pittsburgh. I've been to the bigger cities where breweries are so predominant, and you can go in and you can have a lot of fun in these cool looking places. But they're everywhere there, so it starts to become, just a norm. Here, you give people this like sort of escape, so it's kind of cool. But I'd love to know, like, was there somewhere that inspired you to lay it out like this? Did you see something at some point in your travels, and you said, "I want a place that looks like this"?
I've seen multiple breweries just honestly outside of our area, without naming any. I mean, exactly what you're saying, like just. This area just needs a place where you can see your food being prepared in front of you. You can see your beer being made and poured. And you can listen to live entertainment and all kind of special events every single night. So not only when you go out are you entertained by your own family, you're entertained by things that we give you at no cost every single night, like trivia nights that you come out and have fun with your family, and gift cards are available for you to win. If you win first or second place, we have a Name That Tune night. We always do special events like wreath making parties, goat yoga, axe throwing, fun events for people to come out with their families and really truly enjoy a night out. And almost feel like you're right, like they're on vacation for the 2 to 3 hours that they leave their house for the night without traveling the distance.
And that's what's really great about the layout of your place, is that it's versatile in the sense that you can have all of these different kinds of things taking place, and yet it it's no disruption to a normal night of business when people are sitting in the dining room. You know, you've got your brewery area that can host events. And I don't want to get ahead, but I mean, I guess since we're talking about this, we might as well. This past year, big expansion, right? I mean, so originally you opened up how many parking spaces?
Originally, it's funny, I laugh when I say that. Originally, we opened up and we had about 40 parking spaces.
Right.
Night one, people parked on the highway.
Right.
Disaster.
Right.
Not good. Immediately call excavators, get people in, start expanding more parking immediately. Added up to 75 spots.
Okay. And that was early.
That was, year 1.5
right.
in that area. Yeah.
Okay. So parking expands, 75 cars now able to go in there. How many seats were you managing at the time?
At the time, we were managing about 100 seats.
Okay.
At the time. So
cool.
based on parking occupancies and everything, we still had plenty of parking spots, but at the time, everybody was driving themselves. People were using up a lot of spaces, and we just needed way more parking. So we did our third expansion in the brewery, which you referred to back in the beginning of January of 2020. And we added in and closed in beer garden patio that we can seat up to 70 more people.
Yeah, so originally that was open.
It was open,
air.
yeah.
I mean, you were under cover with just a standard roof, essentially, but they were like pavilion-style posts, and it was open. And actually, we need to get back in there and update the 3D virtual tour, because if you go in, that's what you still see.
Right.
So we actually have to update that. But it might be interesting enough for us to keep some of that imagery so that way we can kind of
before and after.
It. Yeah, before and after. And just the graduation of Benny Brewing. It's kind of cool because I think, that was one of the first wow factors. Well, I mean, aside from the interior, but when you walk outside and you go, oh, there's more, right? And then there's this whole sort of outside. You've got bathrooms out there. You've got Jenga. You've got all kinds of cool stuff taking place. That's what made me feel like, oh, I'm at one of these breweries from out of town, right?
Right. So we decided it back in January to do this expansion. We add on to the patio. We put 3 20-foot wide, full glass, floor-to-ceiling garage doors in. Seal it up in the winter. It's snowing outside. You're sitting in the patio.
It's like a snow globe.
It feels like you're inside of a giant snow globe.
Yeah.
Not the little ones that are out there, but the big snow globe. We also added a wood-fired pizza oven on the patio. So
Killer pizza, by the way. Ridiculous.
I can't wait to go back and get one tomorrow.
It's just ridiculous.
So we have all kind of like rotating pizzas, wood-fired pizza oven, cooking pizzas 2.5 minutes, 800 plus degrees, like charred, blistered outside.
Now, how does Ben learn how to make pizzas? You're not a pizza guy.
The same way I learned how to saute
scallops
when I could barely look over the top of the stove.
Did you? I mean, did you have to call in like certain people to come help you?
I did a lot of reading. I paid attention, and I screwed a lot of it up until this day before I can get it right. Because if there's one thing that I like more than anything is pizza.
Yeah.
And I take it really serious, and pizza to me is super serious. Pizza and beer are super serious to me, and if I don't want it or it's not perfect, I'll throw it away. Like it's just, and now I'm to the point where we're training people to do it. I'm doing it right now. You'll see me out on the patio doing this stuff, making pizza, training other people to do it. But honestly, every single pizza I make, I want to keep for myself.
Do you have a favorite way to make the pizza?
My favorite is the pizza we don't even have on the menu, and if anybody ever wants it, you can always ask for it. It's the pizza marinara. Everybody thinks the margherita is the oldest pizza, but the pizza marinara is the original.
Is that it's like teetering on like a grandma style, right?
No, I mean it's just red sauce, a little bit of Parmesan. I like to put the anchovy on it. Some people say no. Fresh oregano. Sliced garlic, not chopped garlic, just really thinly sliced, almost to the point where it melts in the pan.
Okay. So if somebody that is listening to this hears this show, they can come to Ben's at any given night where you're having pizza, and they can say, I'd like, and to tell the waitress, I want the marinara pie.
Yeah.
And they'll get that.
Yes.
That's not on the menu.
It's not. It never will be.
All right. You're bound by the airwaves. You know.
I know it. I know it's a tall order, but I eat one multiple times a week, and I'll always have the ingredients for that.
Okay. Is there anything else on the menu or not on the menu at Ben's that if the listeners here ask for something special? I mean, I dare say the one thing that we know, but I won't say it if you won't allow it.
Go ahead.
So if somebody comes in and says, I want a cheesesteak, you'll do it for them?
The cheesesteak was a derivative at one point for the prime rib sandwich that we used to do. The cost of the ribeye went so high that we decided that I didn't want to charge people for what it actually cost. So I took it off. We took that off the menu at this point.
Yeah, well, I got Brian here, and he's manning the soundboard.
I actually see a tear in the corner of his eye right now.
Brian, cheesesteak.
For it.
I mean, how good is the cheesesteak there? And what do you get on it?
You got to go banana peppers. How does Eric make it?
It's on the focaccia bread, right?
It's on it goes on the focaccia bread. It's like the garlic bread with the banana peppers and
roasted red peppers, I think.
There's a whole bunch.
Yeah, there was
basically whatever he does.
It's sautéed onions and
mushrooms, red bell peppers, banana peppers, Cajun seasoning.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't believe that's not in your menu.
You can't even pick it apart.
But I get it.
Get what comes on it.
I get it. But man alive, that thing is just ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying we won't bring it back. I'm not saying it won't come back.
As a special, maybe, right?
It'll come back, and we'll let you guys know.
Eric's going to be really unhappy with us.
Yeah, probably. Because if everybody comes in and starts asking for cheesesteaks, oh, man, he's going to kill us. That's funny. So speaking of Eric, talk to us about that marriage, because Chef Eric's the man. You guys got, quite the relationship, and I love the dynamics there. It seems like you guys work extremely well together, and I'm always excited to hear about the new stuff that's coming out of the kitchen. He seems so super excited all the time to be trying some new stuff. Can you tell us about how you met Chef and what that relationship looks like to you today?
I met Eric through a sales colleague years ago. He said that, this person said that he was looking for a job, looking for a position, came down and met with me just as like a brief thing on a Monday when I was off, and said, sit down, let's, think, what are you about? What do you want to do? What are you looking to gain? What are you looking to do in this position? And I poured a beer. I set one in front of him. I said, what do you want? We have a beer. We sat there for a couple hours. We had a few beers and just kind of, try to feel each other out kind of situation. And
I mean, that's a big role, right? Because you run a restaurant. You're a picky bastard, right? When it comes to what goes out of your kitchen, we talked about all this. So,
I mean, there's nothing more important than the day that I videotape the logo sign going on top of the sign pole, right? There's nothing bigger than that. The day that happens is the day that you realize that everything that you do from that point forward all comes back to you.
Yeah.
There's nothing more important. There's nothing as a business owner more important and more proud than the day that the sign gets put on the front of your dream.
And if it's a restaurant, the executive chef is behind all of that.
He's got to really pull his weight.
Yeah. So, I mean, you really, I mean, this is like a second marriage for you. I mean,
there's no doubt.
You know, it's so how do you, I mean, is it, you just click? Is that what happened?
Yeah. We start talking, we have a couple beers. I want to know his, I want to know his situation. I'm like, I don't want any bullshit. I just want, just tell me. Like, don't try to sell me your job. I already know you're qualified.
Yeah.
But that's not going to get you the job here. What's going to get you the job here is that you understand the vision and the passion that I truly have for Benny Brewing Company.
Now, what's Chef Eric's background? Was he classically trained?
Yeah, he's a Johnson Wales graduate.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, he worked at the Brasserie, which is a Michelin star restaurant in Philly.
Okay. All right. Pinkies up.
Super talented. Talented guy. But he wanted to move closer to home and get out of that, craziness and, enjoy his family and have a little extra time, on the side. And that's where Benny Brewing Company fit the bill. So when you tell him, let us be flies on the wall, and what does that conversation sound like? You're telling him your vision for your restaurant, and you're saying, here's what our menu is going to look like, right? I want to hear that. He's like, well, I don't necessarily always cook burgers or do ribs. No, but I mean, what are you saying? Let us be the fly on the wall. You're now telling Chef, here's what my vision is. This is what my menu is going to look like. So what are you saying to him? I'm saying I want to do food that people could come in that can really enjoy. I want to do upscale bar food, gastropub style food at an affordable price that people can come out multiple times a week and enjoy our menu. And I want to give them a sophisticated beverage to accompany with that food. So when you say upscale bar food, what do you mean by that? I say I use a burger, but I use a custom ground burger that we've worked on for years before. So that burger comes from people constantly, from food purveyors, bringing me in custom grinds of burgers that I have this keg grill. Like I said, I had a background in welding at one point, cut a keg open, made a grill, literally had it outside of the brewery, had it inside even cooking there was no concrete floor in the place. Salesmen are bringing me custom grinds of burgers, and I'm giving them away to plumbers, electricians, to everybody. Just so you can try the meats. Just try them, tell me, blind taste, and tell me which one's the best. That's cool. And work through that process. So our burger is sourced and tested way before it goes to a menu and given to a customer that I deeply appreciate. Okay, so when you say upscale bar food, we're talking about taking a burger and just giving it its wow factor. Right. Right, and because without knowing what you said then, I can tell you as a customer, your burgers are definitely different, especially and the Grandioso burger, the Rock 107 burger that took it home for everybody. He takes the gold medal in the, what was the actual prize? What was it called? Best burger in NEPA from Rock 107? Yeah, correct.
The Rock 107 contest. It was like the Rock 107 Burger Mania.
Burger Mania champion. Right. Yeah.
So it was the burger 2019, right?
What? Tell us what you put on that burger, because,
half-pound house Cajun seasoning rubbed burger, grilled, topped with house-made bacon jam, which was stupid. I wish I could make a giant vat of it. Make a vat of it and sit in it. Yeah. So it was a Cajun burger. It was bacon jam, pickled jalapeno, Boursin cheese.
Oh, that's the stuff.
That's where it comes all together. That adds a little bit of the goof factor.
A little arugula, you said, right?
And then the arugula for the pepper, kind of like taste and crunch on the top.
and this was on. Oh yeah.
Oh, there was yep.
Yeah, there was
There's a true winner. There's a true fan right there.
Yeah, it is a true fan right there.
And the house-made pastrami on a brioche roll.
A brioche.
Yeah.
That thing was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember everybody was raving about that thing. Yeah, incredible. Okay, so upscale bar food, that's what we're talking about doing. You take everything else, because you also have, your American barbecue, right? I mean, you've got you've got barbecue chicken, you've got ribs. So it's interesting because I don't think anybody really classifies you as a barbecue joint, but yet you do have these Americano sort of influences. So you're pulling from barbecue, you're pulling from Cajun, you're pulling from, I guess the way that I would explain it as an outsider is, and I've probably said this to people before, it's like if you go to Ben's, you could just expect full flavored food.
Right.
Right. It's not, you're not going there. First off, you're not going home hungry. Right.
Second of all, you're going to get food that bites you back.
Yeah. Right. If you want it.
Right.
Right. Because not everything.
I don't mean hot. I mean,
bites you making you want to come back for more.
Yeah. Like you bite into it and you're like, ooh, like that's, yeah, it's got a lot of flavor. It's got a lot of punch to it. And that doesn't mean it has to be spicy or anything, but,
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, my family, they're all hooked. Right. I could tell you right now, I've got family that comes in from out of town, and every time they do, they're like, "Are we going out to Ben's?"
Yeah.
And they know that I work with you, so I'm always like, "I go to Ben's all the time, right? Is there anywhere else?" And they're like, "Nah, we want to go to Ben's." So, I mean, yeah, you've got that on lock.
What's that voice you have for the mac and cheese?
Oh yeah, that ooey gooey goodness. That's right. Yeah, that's. That makes Brian's skin crawl, because he had to do editing on that, and he heard that voice in the background. And he's like, "Oh, I need to take a shower." Oh yeah, man, that's a funny joke too amongst other people.
You got all the mac and cheese dishes all done in cast iron skillets. They're coming out bubbling to the table, super hot. We got a house-made pastrami that we brine for over 10 days. The brisket's brined for 10 days. Then they get dry rubbed for a day, and then they get smoked. Like, everything we do is from scratch. I always say, like, they're like, we have no freezer at all in the entire building, like nothing. Like, it just, food comes in, goes in the cooler, we use it, we prep it, and goes back out. We have no freezer at all for anything.
Favorite thing on your own menu? Yeah. Well, I know what your favorite thing is. You order it all the time when I'm with you.
I get the Benny burger.
Oh, that's not what I was going to say.
I get the smoked wings and I get the Benny burger.
I was going to say 6 wings.
6 wings, Cajun boil kettle, Benny burger, Cajun boil kettle.
And what's the fancy?
The goat cheese ranch.
There you go.
Yeah.
What the hell is that?
Eric always said if he ever leaves me, he's stealing the goat cheese ranch. He always says that.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big hit for you, right?
It's huge. It's awesome.
It's probably one of your biggest sauces.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Yeah, it's just because we do dry rub smoked wings. We don't take raw wings, fry them in a deep fryer. We take wings, we dry rub them for multiple days, and then we put them into our smoker. We smoke them with cherry wood.
They're not small wings either.
No, they're giant. And honestly, Brian is sitting right here. There's multiple times Brian and I have had a date, sat down, ate wings, and I'm like, I'm really hungry. I think I'm going to do a dozen of these things, and I didn't eat all day. And I get the meat sweats after about 8 or 9 of those things.
Yeah, they're chunky.
Gigantic wings.
Yeah. Yeah, which, by the way, you did pretty damn good there when we did the wing thing, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know. You're just knocking it out of the park left and right, Ben. That's pretty cool.
You know what it is? It's fun. My addiction to giving people good food is just to see at the end of the day when I'm brewing beer, I stand up on the brew house platform, I look over and I see everybody in the restaurant, I see smiles on people's faces. That's the ultimate payback.
And I was going to ask you, because we've had these in-depth conversations, just two guys. We run our businesses. There's all the regular stuff that we deal with, but there's those special moments, those things that really stand out. And that's always the thing that I think is interesting. It's intriguing most when I hear what somebody really truly loves about their business. And I've seen you do that. And I'm sure other people have observed as well. But there's these moments where you can tell it's not you just going to look to micromanage or to do anything of the sort. It's almost like you go up on your stand in the back between your two tanks. You overlook the restaurant, sort of like a captain at the helm, and I see you just sort of taking it in. What are you thinking at that time? Like when you look across your restaurant, you're seeing the smiles on customers, you're seeing the kitchen do its thing, you're seeing the staff come together, like you're seeing that. What does that feel like?
I would say, you say like I go up there and I look and I see the vision of my passion coming through into my employees who are helping, who are the best people that I've ever dealt with, seeing them take care of the customers and make their needs and giving them everything that they need. It's the ultimate success.
Yeah. I mean, it just feels good, right?
Yeah. I mean, the employees in general, everybody that works at the brewery, from kitchen staff to hostesses to food runners to servers, every one of them, we have, at the end of the night, we sit down, we talk to all of them and ask their concerns and ask everything that they need. And they always tell us, this is, this customer wants this customer wants that. So they're listening to all of you. They're listening to all of the customers. They're telling me the information that is needed. And that's how we better Benny Brewing Company on a daily basis. So I would always say thank you to my employees and everybody else out there for making this such a huge success.
How is it on your family? Because it occupies a lot of your time.
It occupies a lot, and it's tough. It's very tough to juggle. My wife is very understanding on what we do and how my lifestyle is.
She's super supportive, though. I mean,
yeah, she is. Yeah,
I've seen her. I think that's you're very fortunate.
Yeah, there's no doubt, because it isn't anybody out there that is in the restaurant business understands that this is an absolute labor of love, and people, making everybody happy is such a giant part of my life that fulfills my day, that is so important to us. And I need that to kind of be the person that I am.
That's awesome. So what does the future of Benny Brewing look like? What's next? I know you're excited. You've got a few things that you're going to be releasing soon. I know in the brewing department you've been working on some secret stuff, and it's about to hit the public. You've just gone through the change of taking all of your cans from 12 ounce to 16 ounce. Right. Super cool. How's that? How are people responding to that?
People love it.
Yeah, I mean,
it's great. Feels better in your hand.
It does. You know what? And it looks really good too. I just love the look of it. Yeah. And you're ramping up your wholesale business, right? So your beer can be found in a lot of places now.
Yeah, we're actually right now. You can look at the Beer Finder section on our website, but within the next few weeks, we're moving into Schuylkill and Monroe County as well.
Yep.
So
that's exciting.
Yeah, as well as Luzerne and Lackawanna.
Yep. So you've been there. You could be found in most of almost all the convenience stores. You can be found at Wegmans, right?
Yeah.
Lots of grocers are carrying your stuff right now. And then there are bars too, right? You're dealing with from a wholesale standpoint. Once everything gets back to normal and businesses as usual, I think there'll be a lot of people who will find your beer on tap, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
that's exciting.
Yeah.
So, any other products that you're coming out with that you want to talk about, or anything else?
I think we have a new one coming out March 1st.
Oh yeah, what do you got?
I'm Hard.
Okay, so
Spike Seltzer.
What product you got coming out?
Seltzer?
Oh yeah, Spike
Oh,
Seltzer.
I'm sorry. I didn't. I was.
Thought you said I'm hard.
No.
I was like, whoa.
Well,
okay.
I did. I said
About
I'm,
the new product.
Quickly.
I said I'm Hard. Spike Seltzer.
That's
the
awesome.
new one.
Well, that's super cool.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the flavors?
Flavors we have black cherry, lemon, and clementine.
This is the stuff I tried not too long ago. That's right. You did share that with me.
We did a small pilot batch of it, and it's actually clementine and black cherry are available on draft, which is hard to find seltzer on draft right now. But we do have it available at the brewery in 2 different flavors.
You had lemon too, right?
Yeah, we have the lemon and we have the clementine right now.
Okay, I think we mixed when I was there, but it was interesting because the lemon. I mean, I've had. My wife has had these seltzers that are out there right now, and I'm not into it because the taste it's like blah, right? And I like that full flavor, and I got to tell you, like right on par with everything else that you've had. And I'm not, just saying this because you're here, but right on par with everything else that you put out. Full flavor, man. I mean, I thought I was like, you tried it too, didn't you, Brian? I remember.
Making me pull this down. Yeah. I did.
What
is
one
good.
did you try them all?
We tried them all. Yes.
Man, it was like it was probably the closest thing to soda that without all the sugar and all the stuff.
Right. It doesn't. I like to say, and you see a lot of people say like seltzer tastes like TV static, or I call it loneliness. Has that just lonely taste, like it's itching for some kind of flavor.
Yeah.
And I mean, this one just. It knocks it out of the park when you're talking about like that big bold flavor profile.
Oh yeah, it was really good.
You have a product that per 12-ounce serving you're at 100 calories and less than 2 grams of carbs.
Now is that going to be in 12-ounce or is it coming out in the 16-ounce cans?
They're coming out in the big boy cans.
Big boy cans.
Yeah,
that's the way it should be, especially with a name I'm Hard.
Yeah,
that's super cool.
Yeah.
Oh man, I can't wait for that to come out. I think that's going to be really exciting. That should be fun for a merch move too, right? I can see a bunch of people wearing shirts like that and being like, "What the hell is that?" That's awesome. Anything else? What's in store for long-term view? Like you got 2 little ones. Is there a dream about getting them involved in the business someday, or are you going to spare them that headache?
I don't know yet. They're still. Yeah, my kids are young at this point, and we'll see. We'll see what that draws out. But this summer, it's coming as the weather warms up. Patios open, live music outside, full view of the wood-fired pizza oven. We put a big tent out in the back, 20 by 80 tent. Kind of gives you that bizarre kind of outside feeling. It's super fun party spot.
Yeah,
tons of entertainment, great food. What else can you ask for?
So as we sort of come out of this fog that we've been in for the season of 2020, as we come out of that, what kind of things? I mean, have you had weddings?
Yeah, we've actually before this pandemic that's happened, we've had multiple weddings. It's something that we've got tons of stuff that we're getting ready to put online to show we do weddings up to 200, 250 people, no problem.
Oh, that's awesome.
So we can do private events. We can do all kind of different things at the brewery now. Since we've expanded our outdoor patio with a tent area, we've actually had people get married at the brewery already.
They got married there?
They got married right at the brewery.
Ah, that's cool.
It was super awesome. Yeah, it was super awesome to see that.
That's real cool.
Yeah.
There is one thing I think we didn't touch on, and that is for those people who maybe come to your place all the time, and they don't know about this, but you have a Brewmasters Club.
We do.
Right? So what is that, and how does that work? And maybe I'm just leading you here because of course I know what it is, but I'd love to hear. I'm sure everybody would love to hear it from you. That's a deal that is. How do they say it? I wish we had the recording of Don Corleone. Right? I'll give you an offer you can't refuse.
Well, here's the offer that you can't refuse.
Yeah. What is it?
$75 for a Brewmaster Club membership.
Okay.
Get you a membership for 12 months from the time you sign on at any time of the year.
Okay.
It gets you immediately as you join a free T-shirt. It gets you a logo Brewmaster glass.
Okay. Sweet. I've seen them. They're
gets-
bigger, right? Or
Yeah.
different? They're
Well,
they're just not a different. They're not a typical pint glass.
Yeah, it's a glass just for the members. Every time you come in, you get a 20-ounce glass of beer for the price of a 16-ounce glass of beer.
Okay.
You also get a 10% discount on all the food that you get every single time you come in.
Whoa. Okay.
Wow.
Inconceivable!
You also get a free meal on your birth date,
Okay.
and you get a free invite for our Brewmaster barbecue.
Which is that's typically a summer event. I think you pushed it off to the fall this year, right?
We pushed it off to the fall this year, but you can come in for free for the day and get an unlimited barbecue buffet.
Yeah, that's
It's
a fun
included,
event.
and you just have to buy your beers at the $3 happy hour price that we normally have.
Yeah.
Tuesday through Thursday from 4 to 6, or Friday and Saturday from 9 to 11.
Super cool. Well, Ben, we've talked a lot about everything. I think we got a really good look at your story. Thank you again so much for coming in here and sharing that story. Is there anything that you would like to say to everybody? You know, your opportunity to sort of say something, anything whatsoever. Did we cover everything for you?
I think we got most of the stuff. I just want to say that anybody that hasn't been to the brewery yet, I want to say stop by, check out the passion that Benny Brewing Company brings to the table every single time you walk in the door, and just enjoy it as much as we all enjoy helping everybody else out there.
That's awesome, man. And, you know, I'm going to say this, and I know it's a mushy thing, but I appreciate you as a friend, and I've enjoyed working with you. You know, we're both very assertive type people. We're alphas, as they would call us. So we've had our moments where we butt heads, but it seems that we're both intelligent enough to come out of those moments with some very intelligible decisions, and the things that we've come up with have been pretty effing awesome, and that's why I enjoy working with you. My entire team enjoys working with you. I think that, you know, if your grandfather was able to sit down right now and have something to say, I think he would tell you that he's extremely proud of you. And, you know, that keeps me going, and me thinking about my grandfather, seeing me do what I do. And, yeah, I genuinely appreciate you, and thank you for the opportunity to continue to work with you. And again, one last time, thank you for coming in here and sharing your story.
No, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
All right, man. Well, we'll thank you so much for everybody for listening. If anybody has any questions about Benny Brewing Company, please feel free to comment or give us a call. We're always happy to connect with people and talk to you about anything that you'd like to talk about. If you listen to this podcast and you're interested in being a guest, please feel free to reach out to us. We would love to get a calendar date and have you come in as a guest as well. And until next time, thank you so much, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you for tuning in to Gettin to Know the 570. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe and follow ConversionWorx on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and LinkedIn to stay up to date on future shows and events. If you'd like to be a guest on our show, send us a direct message on Facebook. Until next time, keep eating, drinking, and shopping local.